I am a video game collector. Always have been, always will be. In 2017, I decided to purchase Nintendo's newest console, the Nintendo Switch. Little did I know that this little device would turn out to be one of my favorite systems to collect for and play games on, ever. Fast forward to 2026, I still do most of my gaming on the Nintendo Switch or Switch 2. I still enjoy the hobby of collecting, but I wanted a new challenge. The truth is, anyone can own or have access to hundreds or even thousands of games for whatever console. Through online services, digital gaming libraries, ROM hacks, physical collections, etc., etc. But how many people can claim to have beaten 1,000 games on a particular console? Well, I decided to take on this challenge for the Nintendo Switch series of consoles. Physical, digital, classics through Nintendo Shop Online, it didn't matter. I wanted to beat and chronicle 1,000 games on this amazing family of consoles before I die. Welcome to my journey. We kick things off with somewhat of an odd choice: Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Mario vs. Donkey Kong is a rather simple puzzle platformer, but it holds a very significant place in my heart. This game reminds me a lot of the Donkey Kong 2 Game & Watch, my very first Nintendo game that I played. You always remember your first date, your first kiss, games, movies, job, etc. I didn't know the significance of Nintendo at the time. I just got the game because the store that I was looking at had nothing else. I immediately fell in love with it and played the game for years. Sadly, I don't have the Game & Watch in my possession anymore, but it will always be a part of me. And every time I play Mario vs. Donkey Kong, I will be reminded of my childhood. That is why this game is priceless and will always be a part of my collection. It is a simple but charming platformer. I'm sure many of you guys have played it, probably some have not. The reviews weren't all that great, but still, it's one of my favorites. Back to the Dawn made me feel really uncomfortable. On the surface, the game is a prison simulator, but there is a lot of depth to this game. From the really interesting characters to the amazing level of storytelling, this game made me feel like a survivor, scrounging for food, making allies or enemies, crafting weapons, doing gang missions. The game made me realize one very important thing: I never, ever want to go to prison. Luckily, I have never been there, and I plan to keep it that way. The game features a lot of gameplay elements like turn-based combat, dice roll-based challenges, timing-based minigames, health management, and sanity checks, to name a few. Your goal? Escape prison while completing your assigned missions. You play as different characters, and they each have their own tasks and stories. If someone asked me to recommend a very different and unique hidden gem, this game would be on the top of my list. I love tactical turn-based RPGs, so it was a no-brainer for me to finally play and beat Fire Emblem Path of Radiance through the Nintendo Online service. Path of Radiance is a beloved game on the Nintendo GameCube, and it's really easy to see why. This is a big boy RPG with some serious themes like murder, slavery, genocide, betrayal, and really a lot more. Ike is a very likable and strong lead character that grows into his role quite formidably. One thing I really appreciated about this game is that your starting roster of characters, they stay pretty strong and relevant throughout the game. You will be tempted to replace them because you will get a lot of new characters. And yeah, I did the same, but honestly, if I play this game again, I will try to beat the game with my starting characters and not change anyone. I may not be able to or want to afford a GameCube copy, but I'm so glad that I was able to play this game on the Switch. I'm sure everyone has played some crazy action platformers, but have you ever visited all famous cities in Japan via a flying tea kettle? If the answer is no, then perhaps you may want to check out Bakaru. I experienced this hidden gem by chance and really enjoyed my time with it. Platformers, admittedly, are a dime a dozen, so it's understandable if you have never heard of this one. The game has all kinds of stuff like Mario Kart style racing, Star Fox inspired shmup levels, or flying levels, however you want to call it, kaiju style boxing, those big mech types battling out in a ring, and really lots and lots of 3D platforming with many secrets to find and bosses to take on. I played a lot of Jak and Daxter back on the PS2, and not surprisingly, Bakaru feels like a good old PlayStation 2 era platformer with quality of life improvements like, a better camera angle, better controls, something that modern gamers take for granted these days. Bakaru is a classic-inspired modern platformer, a great experience. Sometimes I wish I could go back and finish every game that I started, but sadly, that will never be the case. Occasionally though, it does happen with me, and in this case, I finally completed Sparklight, and I'm really happy that I did. Sparklight is a roguelite, and I'm almost certain that most of you don't know what that means, despite hearing the term roguelite multiple times. I was the same way, and after doing some research, I'm still a little unsure, but at least I understand this term a little bit better. But the game's core mechanic revolves around you dying and restarting your run while acquiring permanent upgrades to get stronger and better gear, with the goal of eventually beating the boss after you visit all the mini-bosses in their respective biomes. Sparklight can be summarized as a top-down action-adventure title that once again fits into that hidden gem category. I really had a great time with this game despite getting smashed by the final boss a few too many times. Roguelites is definitely not my genre, but I'm really glad that I came back to finish Sparklight, a very worthwhile experience. Some of my most precious memories include camping trips with my friends and family. I love the outdoors. It's an activity that I will continue to enjoy till my time on Earth is up. I guess that's why I love a short hike so much. Playing this game reminded me of my youth, as I would love to hike to the top of the hill, knowing full well that I would not want to look down because I hate heights. I know it doesn't make sense, but hey, that's me. But it's really about that sense of adventure when you're doing these types of activities, and that's kind of how I felt when I was playing a short hike. It is about the journey. Sure, you can beat the game in an hour or so, just get to the top and you're done. But how did you make it there? What activities did you do along the way? How many new friends did you make? Did you find any hidden pathways? Did you compete in races? Did you help random strangers? This game feels alive. The fact that you play as a bird who can glide to the bottom just adds to the overall thrill of an outdoor adventure. This may be a small indie game, but it has a big heart. I keep trying to convince myself that I'm not a Pokemon fan. I have never been a Pokemon card collector. I don't care for the original Pokemon releases. I know, terrible, right? I've never watched a Pokemon animated series, but somehow I always tend to enjoy most of the newer Pokemon games that I play. Pokemon Legends ZA is no exception. I guess I'm a bit of a Pokemon fan in denial. In my defense though, the story in Legends ZA is surprisingly good. In addition, I really appreciate the zone system the game implements. Is a Pokemon missing from your collection? Well, you know where to find it. I also really enjoyed the nighttime battle challenges, which is a good thing because they are essential for you leveling up and progressing through the story. They're honestly really well done, and I enjoyed them quite a lot. People complained about the bland graphics, the city structure. I have my own complaints about no voice acting, but even then, Pokemon just works for me, and Legends ZA was no exception. Now, it's time to talk about Captain Velvet Meteor Jump Plus Dimensions. What a title. This is the reason why I love the Nintendo Switch. I came across this game by chance, and it struck a chord with me. This game is a tactical combat adventure game where a boy struggling with his move to a new country copes with his anxiety by creating an imaginary superhero space odyssey, with him as the main character, and his fellow adventurers taken from his favorite manga, Jump Plus. To my knowledge, that's an actual manga. He creates imaginary villains stemming from, the surroundings, the new surroundings that he's in, and battles them to eventually overcome his fear. This is exactly what happened to me when I moved from Keedysville, Maryland to Hyderabad, Pakistan at the age of 4. New culture, new environment, new language, new home, new everything. I knew what that kid was feeling because I felt the same way. I love this game. The gameplay may be a bit repetitive, but that doesn't matter. This game will always remind me of my childhood, and that's a wonderful thing. Fantasian Neo Dimension is one of my favorite old school RPGs. I absolutely blazed through its 70-hour plus campaign and loved every second of it. The game wears its old school RPG badge proudly on its chest, from the ridiculously frequent random encounters to some very challenging boss fights to your main protagonist with insomnia. Yep, that too. It is old school from head to toe. Look past that though, and you'll find a very solid RPG with a great supporting cast of wonderful characters, a strong narrative, beautiful graphics, and I do mean beautiful. Not to mention, this game has an absolute banger of a soundtrack that includes the option of selecting some of the best melodies from Final Fantasy games. You can randomize your battle music, and man, it never gets old. I was playing Metaphor Refantasio and really hating it, so I decided to give Fantasian Neo Dimension a try, and the rest was history. People talk about old school and nostalgia all the time. Well, here is your old school plus nostalgia, wrapped in a new package, and in my opinion, this is a must-play. Did I ever mention that I like tactical turn-based strategies? Get ready to hear a lot more of that. But let's discuss triangle strategy, because I beat this game in 2026 again. And this time, I took the quote-unquote other route. Triangle strategy is awesome. I love the politically motivated plot. The main character is awesome. There is a lot of depth to the storytelling that revolves around greed, betrayal, and of course, revenge. One of the things that I really appreciate is that your characters level up and keep their experience even if they lose a battle. So a game over is not necessarily a bad thing in this case. The idea, of course, that eventually you'll be strong enough to overcome that challenge. I hope that someday we get a sequel because I need more triangle strategy. Actually, you know what? I'd prefer more of a square or even pentagon strategy. I need more factions, more complexity. But yeah, triangle strategy, another wonderful classic that I'm looking forward to beating a few more times. And with that, folks, this concludes the first episode. I have a lot more to come, but till then, take care.